Hey everyone, I'm Erica Carlson with BRIX Real Estate. I am a Twin Cities real estate agent and I live in Wright County. So I wanted to give you the update for the week, whether you're a home shopper or you're a homeowner, and you don't necessarily have to be thinking about selling to find this information valuable. And so we are going to jump into my favorite data and look at this closely because there's some things that are happening right now that are important to be aware of, whether you're doing the shopping or the selling, right? So it's August 30th and you can see showing activity drop back over last week. We had a little, when we had a little pickup, we mean really little. It's been pretty slow in August. 2 to 3 showings a week is pretty slow. And so if you're not sure how to read what's on my screen, what I'm saying is 2 to 3 showings per week per listing is now the average in Wright County as the whole county, right? Like I'm only doing the 250 to 500K range. So I am excluding out the lower and higher ends there. And then Hennepin County has stayed completely consistent. Though if you look at the numbers, because it brackets it out a little bit for me, it just seems like it's moving a tinge faster than our Wright County, which again, we expect. We've talked about this week over week that Hennepin County does move faster, higher population, obviously a lot more, just a lot more houses. So I don't know exactly that it's apples to apples, but it gives you an idea of kind of more that rural versus metro vibe. And so if you're selling a house, it's going to feel really slow. Now, let's talk about the positive. If you are shopping for a house, talk about a good time to be looking. Going against the grain is the way to get a house. I know everybody wants a deal and nobody wants to overpay. And the way to do that is to listen carefully to this data in the sense that we take it and we process and we say, go now. And so obviously we're going into Labor Day weekend. I know it's state fairs, school's about to start. Not a lot of people are thinking about moving. And that's to your advantage when you're house shopping. So whether it's hitting Thanksgiving or the holidays, or snow. How many people say, oh, I don't want to move in the snow, right? But you don't buy a house and move the next day. There's a 30 to 60 window typically in there. And so just thinking a little bit further ahead is going to benefit you. And so if you're around this weekend and you're a home shopper, this is the time to go. Plus you'll make those sellers really happy. They already kind of know that Labor Day is going to be a slower weekend. Lots of people go out and enjoy it. In terms of days on market, it's interesting to me to see that we dropped to 23 and a half. So it seems like it's moving a little bit faster. I can't explain to you why the numbers have changed for the positive for home sellers because there isn't not obvious logic to me when I look at this screen. So now if you let your eyes go down to August 30th, you're gonna see the numbers just aren't changing. We're at 552 for actives and coming soons. Not much of a change. It's a little less than the last 2 weeks, but it's nothing anybody would notice. 490 properties for sale with no contingencies. Again, that's just not much of a change in the last couple of weeks. No surprise. Again, we're in August. This is a slow time for real estate. People don't think about moving. Pendings went down a little and closings stayed about the same. So things are moving, but things aren't moving quickly. We've talked that we have hit a more of a balanced market. It's still heavier on the seller's side, but and that is not the screen I wanted to show you. Still heavier on the seller side if we're going to pick one or the other. We're not in a buyer's market, but things have balanced out. When you have that few shoppers out there, it is impacting things. Obviously, a lot of talk about interest rates and whatnot. So I'm going to jump over to a screen I've never shared with you before. This is like a website I build for my buyers that are out there shopping pretty heavily. I try to update this weekly, so I don't have this as a public website. It's not something you could Google and find, but if we're working together, I would also share this with you. And let me just kind of scroll down here. So it's talking about what is happening in the Twin Cities market. It's comparable to what we're talking about, but it's not identical by any means. And then I've got strategies to win the house and understanding terminology like appraisal gap, the pros and cons of skipping inspections, escalation clauses. You have to remember, we've been in such a severe seller's market, and so often the houses we love go into multiple offers. So I need to explain these terms to people, and I have this all on this one document. And I'm not going to go through all this right now, but this is something I would share with you if you were my client. What I wanted to focus on today was some data that I get from a transaction coordination company. That's just a fancy way of saying they're people that help real estate agents with different paperwork. We're a very paperwork heavy business, and so we can, you know, of course, hire people to help us with that. This company is very transparent and kind that they're willing to share this data with all of us. What stands out to me is, before we look at this together, is we don't know the true data pool. Like, I don't know how many real estate agents or how many offers this is. I don't know like what category of the Twin Cities they say, but it's still interesting. If we just kind of pull out like all the small details and we just focus on the big picture, I think you'll find this information helpful. And again, it's just from that one company, because one realtor alone doesn't write enough offers to probably ever pull data together to this level. I mean, I partner with my husband and we still like wouldn't be able to give you data at this level. So we're looking at August 1st to August 25th, and these are only offers that were accepted, which is helpful because why look at the ones that weren't accepted? Those weren't the winners, right? So it's interesting that people are still waiving inspections at 30%. 4% of the time people are purchasing houses before they hit the MLS. So they probably know a realtor, they bought a for sale by owner, excuse me. I don't know, somebody knew somebody, that kind of situation, that would be a pre-MLS sale. 17% of the time people are using cash. 67% of the time it's conventional, and the rest is FHA and VA loans. So you shouldn't feel like you can't purchase a house if you decide to use an FHA or VA. You can just see it's not as common. Average purchase price, I think this is really important. It's 101%. Median is 100. So what I would take from that if I was a home shopper is there's not a lot of deals happening. That means sellers are getting 100% of what they wanted for the sale or even above that. And so that's kind of giving us a hint that maybe a lot of these properties went into multiple offers. Now this is interesting. 35% of the time people are getting some level of closing costs paid for. Now again, how many of these properties went into multiple offers? I can almost, shouldn't say guarantee, but mostly people who go into multiple offers are not going to get closing costs paid for. So if you can find a house where it isn't going into multiple offers, you're going to be more likely to have a seller agree to contribute. There's more we could talk about there, but I'll move on. It's interesting. Only 7% of the time people are getting a home warranty. And I assume that means on the initial, that when they're not talking about like getting it negotiated later on. 14% of the time people have a house to sell to buy a house. And so you can see it's pretty rare. Escalations are 7% of the time. If you don't know that term, definitely reach out. I'm happy to tell you what it means. Appraisal gap 17% of the time on finance purchases, because obviously cash doesn't need an appraisal. And then people are canceling 3% of the time. But again, it could be higher than that because I don't know when they grab this data and whatnot. So I thought that was, it's interesting to look at that occasionally, especially when you're out there house shopping. As let's say you're always asking for closing costs and you're wondering why you're not winning. That unfortunately, that could be the reason. Again, there's ways to circumvent that, like offer the seller more money to make up for it if you absolutely have to ask for closing costs, things like that. So I think I'm gonna stop there. I think we can always look at that data. If that's something you'd like me to include in future videos, please let me know. If you found me on YouTube, I'd love if you would subscribe and share and like and all those good things. If you found me on Facebook, jump over to my professional page and follow along. I put lots of tips and tricks on there. I'd love to have your company, no strings attached. And as always, if you want a neighborhood market report, whether it's for Delano, St. Michael, Rockford, Buffalo, those are on my link. Also, if you're willing to share your information, I can get you one for your neighborhood, which is far better than the regular one, but check that out, click that link. Thank you for making it to the end of the video with me. I very much appreciate you, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you so much.